As the backgrounds kind of indicate, we are in space, or more importantly, we're talking about space today because there is so much actually happening about the final frontier. So, Shara, let's hear it. What's happening?
Well, as you know, Liz, and as the audience probably has gathered at this stage, I'm a little bit of a science fiction geek. And
Just a little one.
just a little, and I
one.
have been since I was a little girl. And what I find so exciting right now is that we are living right at this very moment at a time when humanity has the capabilities of really, truly starting to explore outer space. And to me, that is just so super exciting. Liz, did you ever think that would come about in your lifetime?
No, definitely not. Even when you're watching James Bond movies and they had that, establishment or in space. Even James Bond was ahead of his time, but well, Ian Fleming was ahead of his time. But yeah, I never thought that it would be, we would be Jetsons.
No. Well, let me share a couple of slides just to illustrate as a backdrop on the things that I want to be talking about. So I've used a phrase from, again, another science fiction show, surprise, surprise, Star Trek, space, the final frontier. And again, being a science fiction geek, I had to choose something from Star Trek. But what is truly amazing is that this is where the next generation of human explorers will be venturing. And it's happening right now. And a lot of it is being driven by private industry. So while there are many different governments that are planning different space missions, primarily to the moon and Mars, it's really the development by a number of different private enterprises of reusable rockets that is making this a reality. So to draw you an analogy, imagine if you had to use an airplane one time only. The cost of getting from Sydney to Brisbane for us to visit each other would be astronomical. We'd be much better off taking our cars and driving between the two cities, presumably when the borders open up again. But with reusable rockets, and they've been tested by a number of organizations now, this means that space exploration suddenly becomes affordable. So that's one of the factors that is making space so attractive. Another thing that's happening are discoveries in the world of radio astronomy. And as of about a week ago, when I was listening to a science radio show that I like to tune into every once in a while about space exploration, the latest count on the number of exoplanets discovered was 2,400 of them. And that's just in our galaxy. So that means that scientists have discovered true evidence of planets that are out there in our galaxy. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, of these 2,400 planets, not all of them are capable of sustaining human carbon-based life like you and I, but who's to say that's the only type of sentient life out there? There could be all kinds of life. But what's even more incredible is that the same scientists are now predicting that in our galaxy alone, there will be over 300 million planets that are human habitable. That's huge. Liz, can you imagine 300 million planets? And that's just in our galaxy. And there are billions and billions of galaxies. Now, why do I think that space travel is likely to happen in the near term? It's not just the reusable rockets, and it's not just the discovery of other planetary bodies which might be able to host us humans. It's also the discovery of water on other planets and moons in our solar system. So on the left is a picture of Mars. That's an artist's depiction of what it looked like several billion years ago before whatever catastrophe befell it happened. And as you can see, it's actually more of a blue planet than a red planet. The picture on the right shows a couple of things. Where you see the white line at the sort of polar regions of Mars is where they think that there is most likely ice buried underneath or easily accessible by the ground, by the polar caps. But what's even more interesting are recent discoveries near the Hale crater on Mars that look like there is flowing water from time to time on the surface of Mars, even today. And they're discovering this with probes and radio astronomy and what looks like to be leftover salt streaks from running water. So that's one planet. But what makes it truly fascinating is the discovery that NASA announced just a couple of weeks ago from its SOFIA mission, where they discovered water on sunlit portions of the moon. So these are two very near planetary bodies, and the scientists are not yet sure of exactly how the water was deposited on the moon, whether it was sitting underneath the surface and managed to bubble up. Maybe it's particulate ejections from our sun, which might mean that there's water on lots of planets. Or it could even be from meteoroid impacts, which would again bode very well for water being available on other planets. Now, to me, these combinations of discoveries are just super exciting, because what we need as humans to be able to really go into outer space is to have self-sustaining colonies. And of course, one of the key ingredients for human life is water. And the two closest bodies to planet Earth, as it turns out, look like they have water that we'll be able to tap into. So would you be game, Liz, to explore another planet?
I think it would be interesting and I would love it, but I think the time to come back to Earth and, you know, family and friends is important to me. So that would be a big factor.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want it to be a one-way trip. I'd like it to be more of an extended vacation as opposed to a one-way ticket, you know, to live on Mars forever or to live on the moon forever. But what's really fascinating is that there's another alternative energy technology, which is called nuclear fusion. And unlike fission, it doesn't leave a radioactive half-life measured in thousands of years. If we manage to really develop this technology, and scientists are working on it, but it's probably 20 years out, but if we manage to harness it, then we'll be able to use that potentially as a propulsion system to get us from here to Mars in 39 days.
Wow, that's huge.
And
well, we might not make it, but yeah.
Well, it might not be us, maybe kids, grandkids,
yeah,
friends, but it bodes well for the future of humanity and for us becoming a multi-planetary civilization.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that was certainly interesting, Shara, because there's so much things that actually could happen and, you know, what the future actually entails. But we have run out of time.
I know, we always run out of time.
We do.
It's so good to see you, and thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Thank you for listening.